It turns out that about 80% of the people see themselves as procrastinators or have issues with procrastination. Now, that's a
80% of
lot.
people. Wow.
80% of people. So the question is, what do you do with it? Let's say you are struggling with procrastination, and what the researchers looked at was what characteristic primarily distinguishes people who perceive themselves or really are procrastinators versus people who are not, the minority. And they found a very interesting difference. And the difference has to do with mindset. So procrastinators believe that inspiration precedes action, or that motivation needs to come before we do something. So I really need to want to go for a run in order to go for that run. Or I really need, personally, to want to write before I actually start writing. So that's procrastinators' mindset.
I feel seen.
Those who don't procrastinate, yes. So those who don't procrastinate have it the other way around. They don't think inspiration needs to come before action. They understand that sometimes action needs to come before inspiration. That we sometimes need to do something and then motivation comes. I write a lot, and I realized after a few years that my students actually think that every morning I wake up and, I have a eureka experience, an aha moment, and I go towards the light and write with so much joy and love and happiness. Sometimes, maybe. Usually that's not the case. Very often, I don't feel like writing. But knowing this, the importance of the mindset, I just do it. So I take action, and then after 5 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour, the motivation is generated. But it doesn't come first. The inspiration comes after the action.
So that really hit me because I've been what I'd call a procrastinator for most of my life. And I've still gotten things done, but it's riddled with procrastination before I actually do it, because I have had the belief that I have to feel like it or want to, and that's when I do it, versus I have to do it. So I want to, especially because 80% of people say they are, that is such an aha moment to realize that it's the action that inspires versus I need inspiration to act.
And there is a wonderful book by Anders Ericsson called Peak. And it's about peak performance. And he's, arguably the most important researcher in the area of performance. So you may have heard of the 10,000 hour rule.
Of course.
That's his. Malcolm Gladwell writes about him a lot. But one of the things that he talks about in Peak that is unfortunately not reported on sufficiently is the whole idea of motivation. And, when we look at the experts, at the best performance, the Olympic athletes, for instance, we always think that their motivation is primarily, mostly, maybe even solely intrinsic. Meaning, when they were 6 years old, they decided that they want to be the best gymnast in the world or the best basketball player in the world. And then from then on, it was, hard work, dedication, all driven from within. That's not the case. Yes, some of it is driven from within. And yes, they did love gymnastics when they started it. And they still do, perhaps. And they love to swim or whatever it is. But a large part of the journey was driven by extrinsic rather than intrinsic motivation. So not just by the passion that burned, but rather by the want for the accolades and the praise. And part of being human is that we want to be praised. We want those accolades. We want that success that is approved of by others. And that's an important part of the journey, that external motivation. In other words, we're not always inspired from within. Sometimes we need help from the outside.
So it's okay to, I'm thinking of people who get in a rut where maybe you do start with this passion and fire and desire to achieve or accomplish or create something, and then you have your rut moment. We all do. Is the extrinsic motivator then a helpful way to pull yourself out of a rut?
Exactly right. And Leah, you hit the nail on the head. We all do. So it's not like, oh, there are some lucky few who don't experience their rut, who there are some lucky few who every day when they wake up are just, rearing to go. We all experience those downs, the absence of energy and desire and strength. The question is, what do we do when we experience it? And people who are successful, and again, I'm talking about success in the conventional sense of the word, who have achieved and are achieving, they're able to, in spite of that rut, they just go on. They continue. They do it anyway. And sometimes the motivation for it comes from the outside. You look at research on change, for instance. People who have an accountability buddy, people who do it together, end up doing it a lot better. In fact, I'm not talking about 10 or 20% more likely to succeed in the long term. We're talking about 100 to 200% more likely to succeed in the long haul if we do it with someone else, whether it's go to the gym, go for that run, Leah, or whatever it is that we aspire to do. We need that extrinsic motivation at times.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching In the Arena, a podcast exploring how to reach your potential and live with more clarity and intention every day. If this video resonated with you, like and subscribe to the LinkedIn News YouTube channel for more like it. And you can get full episodes of In the Arena with Leah Smart on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts.